Om Arham, thank you so much. And now Mother Earth, I think we need to speak of those Samanis who actually nurture the concept of Jainism and go around making such sacrifices and such efforts to spread the good word of the Anuvrat philosophy. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. Samani Rohini Pragya, Assistant Professor of the Jain Vishwa Bharati University, Ladnu. Non-violence and peace has been her mantra, as has been for many of the Samanis, and she has done her PhD research in I feel scared to say this word because I'm sure all of you know it, but for me, it's easier to say the theory of interpretation. And I'm going to leave the expression of the exact word to Dr. Samani Rohini Pragya ji.
Well, it is hermeneutics, and my research topic was Jain view of reality, a hermeneutic interpretation. Okay. Hermeneutics is theory of interpretation. Okay. Most revered His Holiness Acharya Shri, and I thank the organizer, especially Surendraji, for incorporating my name in this session and present my concept of the philosophy of Anuvrat. Well, being a student of philosophy, my inquiry was to look on what ground is Anuvrat standing in Jain philosophy. When I look to the Jain doctrines, I think that any discipline of philosophy in Jainism, whether it is epistemology, ethics, even logic, all are on the foundation of its metaphysical assumptions. And those assumptions are, which Jain admits in every discipline is, there is soul, there are karmas, there is rebirth, there is transmigration, and one can attain emancipation. These are certain assumptions which Jain philosophy admits in every discipline of its philosophy. If we try to eliminate these metaphysical assumptions, we cannot reach to any principle of Jainism. The present paper attempts to establish that Anuvrat doctrine, as enunciated by His Holiness Acharya Tulsi in the name of Anuvrat movement, is like path-breaking. I say this to be path-breaking because in this movement, he transcends all those assumptions. In his Anuvrat movement, he had not made any assumption of metaphysics which Jainism admits in its philosophy as there is soul, there is rebirth, there is karma, there is transmigration, or there is emancipation. He has set aside this assumption, and I think this is for the first time in Jain history that a contribution has been brought in Jain philosophy. And really this Anuvrat movement has brought a turn in Jain philosophy. We had many concepts in Western philosophical world. The logical positivist, they never admitted the aspect of metaphysical doctrines. Even in the postmodern world, the postmodern philosophers are not with the assumption of metaphysics. And thus, I found that in Jainism, this was a new turn and has been realized in this philosophy of Anuvrat doctrine. Acharya Tulsi was asked, who can be an Anuvrati? So, for a Jain, in its rigid interpretation, one who have faith in Jain canons, in Jain metaphysical doctrines, can be a follower of Anuvrat religion, which was rigidly interpreted in its classical forms. But when this was questioned to Acharya Tulsi, he says, my definition of a perverse or a wrong faith holder is not one who does not believe in soul, but one who does not believe in communal harmony, one who is not aware of ecological problems, one who is not having the notion of cooperation and care toward every life form. So this was the new vision which he has tried. This was the new interpretation of a right faith holder which Acharya Tulsi has incorporated in his Anuvrat doctrine. And thus, when he talks of Anuvrat, in his philosophy, he says, I want this principle, this Anuvrat, the directive principles of Anuvrat, which can solve the problems of present world, which does not look for a new life to be more good, but how can this present world be good and addresses and solve the present contemporary problems. he says that there is a huge problem that there are many traumas that are undertaken in the name of sect, but everything comes on dharma, religion. He had an inquiry. Can there be any religion which can be devoid of any sectarian outlook? And he thought that, yes, it could be. And if it is, it should be brought to light. And how is that it could be brought to light? It is the Anuvrat which can say that it is a religion which is not a sect. There can be religious principles, practices that can be undertaken through their outfits. There can be method of worshipping, but can there be a religion which is not much focused on its canons, on its method of worship, on its ritualistic? If it is possible to have a religion, its formation should come to the light. And how could be it brought to the light? And it was Anuvrat. I feel that His Holiness Acharya Tulsi's contribution as Anuvrat doctrine in his Anuvrat movement is really a remarkable turn in Jain history. Thank you very much for giving me this time to share my views.
Om Arham. Well, spirituality is a path of self-awakening and the well-being of the world. There's a melodious voice that expresses this and has been doing so since the time of Acharya Tulsi. She was blessed by him. She is highly educated, a PhD, a doctor. Of course, she's also the Vice Chancellor of the Jain Vishwa Bharati University in Ladnu. So, with so many qualifications, I think I'm not going to say any more, and I'm going to request Dr. Samani Charitra Pragya to please come on stage and share her words and, if possible, her music with us.
Anantanandena kvachitapi na kastanubhavanam anantam tajjnanam viditamabhito vishwamakhilam Ananta sa shaktihi क्वचिदपि न किंचित प्रतिहता महावीरो धीरः स्फुरतु मम चेत्ते प्रतिपलम् महावीरो धीरः स्फुरतु मम चेत्ते प्रतिपलम्. I pay my salutation to His Holiness, all respected Samnijis, honorable delegates coming all over different parts of the world. It's specifically a privilege for me to be here today. I'm just listening for last 2 days, yesterday and today. There were very wonderful presentations talking about the reality where we are standing, what we need to do for the future. And it's very excellent idea that the present connects with our past and the future. If we are not planning for this present moment, it means we cannot correct our past and we cannot move ahead for the future. It's the wonderful contribution by the great scholars, great visionaries, and the legendary people who came forward with all of their visions and thoughts and ideas in order to make a difference in this society, in this community, to make a change in this world. We have heard about the circular economy, the sustainability. There was, most of the time, it strikes my mind. Even I was listening to the UN policies and a lot of the funds. Yesterday also, Kiranji talked about that UN have so many kinds of funds which are allocated for making a policies in order to make a change in the economy system, in the environment, and maybe a lot of ecological solutions. But it's a horrible issue again. By just discussing and spending so much of amount of the funds and finance, and so many people are getting together, but are we making any change in that position? It's a question we need to ask our own self. Many of the time, we have a get-together and really appreciate Patawari ji and all the committee members who have taken this decision to make the like-minded people to get together. If we don't have the like-minded people who can understand and communicate and have a dialogue and discussion to understand and share with each other, it's very difficult in order to have acknowledged those principles and make those principles to be applied in our own philosophy, in our own practices. That's very, very important. We have seen the main objective of Anuvrat is what? Self-discipline, self-restraint. If we talk in the language of restraint, it makes a little bit kind of a revolution, maybe it's a kind of a resistance from inside. Why should I control myself? If the world is not controlling their own mind, why should I control myself? If everybody is flowing the same boat, why should I be isolated and be secluded from that? So such kind of questions make us to ponder again and again deeply what we need to do. Should we flow with the stream which is going through, or we have to make some changes in our principles? Today also there were some presentations and they were talking about whether Anuvrat was successful in its mission or not. It's a different view of perspectives. I can say Acharya Sri Tulsi, Ganadipati Gurudev Sri Tulsi, he gave us a model, a kind of a guidelines, a kind of a principles. And those principles in a straight statement, and those straight statement can be interpreted in many different ways. If I'm working as a Samini, I can interpret in my own way what I should do and what I should not do. If it's a lay follower, if it's a corporate sector company, if it's a CEO, he or she will decide what kind of interpretations they can follow those principles. Because each and every principle have its own sense, and the depth of it and the intensity of each and every principle make a sense of it. So unless and until we dive deeply into it and understand the depth of each and every principle, I think it's very difficult to make a change in the society. Recently, we were having a lot of discussions. Many of the time, whenever we are in the holy presence of Acharya Sri Tulsi, we are so obliged and fortunate to have its presence, Acharya Sri Tulsi, Acharya Sri Mahapragya Ji. And many of the time, we had discussions with him. What are the solutions for the current problems? What are the solutions for the world where we are living? Should we go through and how all those sufferings and pain and just take on and tolerate that? Is the tolerance is the right word to just take it, whatever it is coming to us? It's not. It's a two ways of having a non-violence, passive non-violence and active non-violence. Most of the time, people interpret non-violence as a passive non-violence. But non-violence also has a different interpretation where it talks about active non-violence. And in that active non-violence, where each and every person take a responsibility. I was just going through the documents in the presentation of the UN Declaration. They were talking about the rights, human rights, maybe animal rights, or whatever rights we talk about. Do we talk about the duties and responsibilities towards it? We always ask for the rights, but do we say and discuss about what are the duties we have to function and perform? Are we performing our duties towards nature, towards human, towards plants, or toward whatever it is, the ecosystem which is existing here? So unless and until the duties are defined, we are just going through the one channel of having the rights, and always we talk about the rights. But Anuvrat movement, it talks about our duties. What are our duties which we need to perform as a social being? We are as an individual being, we are living in a society, we are as a social being, and being a social being, we are having some kind of responsibilities, obligations, and duties to perform. And if we take those duties to perform, in wherever we are, in whatever existence we have, in whatever the resources we have, definitely it will create a good environment and having a solutions for such problems. It's not a magic that today we take a decision and have a determination and we will change in the whole world. It's not possible. Violence was in the past, violence is even today, and we don't know exactly what will happen for the violence in the future. So it's a chain of consequences which is coming through for thousands and thousands of years. But the interpretation of non-violence, the interpretation of the peace, it changes with the modern context. What we are looking for and how we need to take those actions. Definitely it comes through because Acharya Mahapragya Ji used to say, people normally say non-violence is the backbone and the pillar of the Jain principles. But he used to say many times, it's not the non-violence, it's the non-possession. Unless and until we limit the possession, there cannot be a solution for the violence. People are doing violence for what cause? in order to satisfy the desires, in order to satisfy the feelings and the emotions which arises in their mind, and it comes to the actions whenever they want to. So unless and until we try to understand what kind of desires I have, whether those desires need to be fulfilled, because it's a cycle, it's a chain. There will be desire that creates the demands, and the demands will result into production, and the production will result into more pollution and the depletion of the natural resources. So it's just a cycle, and that cycle keeps on communicating every time, and people have to suffer in different time period, in different time era. So here I think Acharya Sri Tulsi, he gave a solution in this way. He said that if it's a principle of nonviolence, if it's a principle for taking care of environment ecologically, maybe say biocentric or maybe say ecocentric, whatever the terminology which we can describe and have a definitions on it, but we have to take care of and take that responsibility, is that I'm creating anything which goes against nature. It's very true that people will not be motivated unless there is a principle of profit. If there is a profit, if there is any kind of advantages which I can take, that's a selfish motive. Unless and until a person doesn't have a selfish motive, it's very difficult for anyone to take actions on it. So the principle can be, it's a planet plus people plus profit. If there are three things goes together, we take care of the planet, because if planet is existing, it means I can exist. If the planet is not existing, there will be no existence of myself. So planet, caring of the planet with caring of the people, and then there is a minimal profit. It should not be in a commercialized way where everything is in a checking and just like how much of bank balances I'm creating. It's a profit in that sense a person can survive and can make their life to be in better way. So if three things goes together and have a solutions and have a principles accordingly for the economical system, I think economy can also flourish in that way and people can be employed. Because many times people have a question, if my desires are terminated, if my desires are reduced, how people will get the jobs? How the business will flourish? How people will be employed? How this like the population which is increasing day by day is going more than 7 billion, and we don't know exactly what will happen in 2020 or maybe in 2050. It's not like, it's very difficult to have assumptions on what would be the rate of the population. But just by cutting down the desire, it's not that creating any problem for employment. If we are using the natural process, because I was just thinking in the circular economy, on one side, it's a huge production, and then huge consumption, and then huge resources are having a depletion and creating more pollution, more wastages. Maybe it's a e-wastages or maybe it's a different form of wastages. Again, we have to establish a different plans for recycling, for circular economy, for different weights and methodologies and strategies. It's like creating a kind of a problem and then finding out a solution and then again create a problem and then again find out a solution. Like how long we are going to do this? Nowhere we are coming and breaking that cycle, and we are suffering again with having no solutions for us. So I think the solution which Acharya Tulsi, and maybe many great visionaries have given the solutions in many different philosophies, in many different belief systems and many different practices, which we have heard today. And a lot of people are doing it, and they are doing practical examples to take those actions and give solutions for those problems. I think that would be a better way to take action, whether I'm a part of creating a pollution or I'm a part of giving a solution in order to minimize that pollution, taking care of the nature, taking care of the ecosystem, and hopefully that will help us to get more and more good solutions in this way. So I think this conference, which have brought all us together and have more discussions on it, I think if we take with us as a responsibility, whether I will take care of the nature, whether I will take care of the the beings which are existing in this world, whether I will take a better steps for myself to be as a better people, as a better citizen of this global world, and also make other people to follow those principles. I think that will make a big change, a big difference, and hopefully that will be a better solutions to live in this world. Giving me this opportunity, I thanks to all of you, and I hope that definitely we are very optimistic that one day it will happen and will be a global citizen with global people, with global better humankind. Thank you, Om Arham.